I chose special education because very early on in my childhood, I was very involved in working with students with special needs. My dad, in his work, he worked with a lot of students who had deformities, particularly around students that couldn't walk, that had issues with their legs, that wore braces, that wore prosthetics. And so, I used to work part-time at my dad's when I started at 8 years old. Actually started working there on Saturdays, and I used to assist when there were students that would come in, and they also worked with a lot of students that had Down syndrome, that had to work with that had issues with with their muscles or their legs, so they needed sometimes special braces or what they call AFOs, which were plastic braces that went behind the leg to provide support. And because a lot of them were my age, I would sit there and talk with them. And so when I got the opportunity in middle school to go into the 8th grade and be a student coach, they asked a group of us if we would be willing to, instead of taking a regular PE class, if we would be willing to take a class with the PE class with the special ed, a group of kids with the students that had Down syndrome, and if we'd be willing to do a student coaching so we could help prepare them for Special Olympics. And I immediately jumped on it because I have a cousin who also has Down syndrome, and so I said yes, of course, I'll do it. And that's where my love of working with students that had special needs really began, because I really enjoyed my 8th grade year in middle school. I'm working with that group of students, which is really what launched me wanting to go into medical school. I actually wanted to go to medical school to work on deformities of the legs and the feet and really help people and give them an opportunity to be able to walk again. And so I actually wanted to got accepted to go to medical school in Dallas, which was my career path. My career path was to go to medical school so I can help people learn to walk again. I always thought my dad was just a shoe repairman. That's he was what they call a shoe cobbler, until one day when I must have been in 7th grade, and I was sitting in when he was fitting one of his patients with the custom-made shoes that he had made. A lady from Mexico that had traveled, come up across the border, and my dad had designed a pair of custom-made sandals, or shoes. Actually, they were the shoes for her. She hadn't walked in almost 8 years because of the deformities in her feet. And because of my dad's work, she was able to walk, step up, walk, and she took her first steps on her own in almost 8 years. And that's at that moment I knew that what my dad did was a lot more than just repair shoes and make shoes. He actually transformed people's lives. And that was a big breaking moment for me, and how I could take that a step further, and actually be through the education that I received, how could I give back to people like that in a much bigger way, medically, which is what launched me to want to go to med school. But when I was in college, and my wife is the one that actually. She's the one that asked if I would be interested in substituting on my days off, and I really didn't want to because I wanted to go to medical school. So, long story short, she finally convinced me to substitute on my days off, and I got a long-term substitute position at Parkland High School there in the Sleda district, working in a class with special needs students. And after working with them from February through June, I realized that that's really where I belong. That I belong in the classroom, working with our most at-risk students, the students that need a certain kind of teachers that can actually work with them and understand them. And I switched my major that summer from being a pre-med major to education, and the rest is history. Because I realized that my heart was truly in the classroom and making a difference in children's lives.